If I could go back a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, there are seven things I would tell my younger, ignorant, foolish self about leadership in network marketing. I can't do that, but I can share them with you. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Great to be with you. I want to share seven vital premises of leadership in our space that I think can make the world of difference for you, particularly you guys who are just starting out and you're a follower, you're on a team, maybe you haven't really achieved any of the higher ranks and you're not part of the leadership, the group that develops the system and the events and the agendas. I think this would be really helpful for you. And then for you guys and gals who are up there already at that elite stratosphere, I think you still will pick up a couple of things that you might find really helpful. So here's vital premise number one. You must recruit an all-volunteer army. Why I say when I talk about going back and talking to my younger self, when I started in the business, I was 20 and I was so ignorant and so foolish and needed so much personal growth and self-development at that stage of my life and knew nothing about leadership. But I thought I did because I had been and was a restaurant manager. Well, I didn't know there's a difference between management and leadership. And we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. And what I also didn't understand was the distinction of having employees that you hired or fired and distributors who have to volunteer. You have to inspire them to fill out an application. You have to inspire them to go to work. You have to inspire them to hang around and not drop out. What really helped me later in my career was I did a lot of volunteer work. I was president of the Chamber of Commerce up in Sunny Isles for a year or two. I was president of the Florida Speakers Association. I was vice president and then president of the board a couple of terms for my church. And I served on a lot of other volunteer boards, film festivals, opera, things like that. And man, how eye-opening that was for me to understand, wow, if we want this thing to move forward, we've got to inspire people to want to be a part of it. So if you're like me and you came into the business with a management model, you're going to have to learn, oh, no. And even if you're a leader coming from the corporate world, where you can recruit people with a gorgeous salary and a corner office or amazing daycare benefits and vacation time and retirement plans and insurance and all of that stuff. Hey, whole different animal here. Premise number two, don't try to make everybody a leader. If you went out on the bus stop right now and grabbed the next 100 people, maybe two of them would be leaders and with strong leadership potential and the desire to be a leader. And I think that's kind of in the general population, that's kind of a workable number. But now I think people who join our business, the percentage goes up because they're entrepreneurial minded. They've got the critical thinking skills to want to get out of the matrix. They don't believe all the bullshit about go to work for a big company and get benefits, and that's where it's security, and you do that for 40 or 45 years, and then you're going to retire, and the government is going to take care of you with Social Security or whatever the retirement Ponzi scheme in your country is. Well, that's bullshit. people in later generations, we've come to realize, and even people in my generation, we've come to realize, no, that's the biggest Ponzi scheme out there, is government retirement programs. So we've already shown we're critical thinkers. We've shown we're a level above the average person's thinking about how to make a career and manifest prosperity. And people with entrepreneurial instincts also are part of the cohort of people who value leadership and desire to become a leader. So I might say it's 10% in our profession, which would be 5 times more than the average outside of our profession, right? But 10% is still 10%. That means 90% of the people in your team are not leaders, and they don't want to be leaders. So don't make the mistake I see. I'll be, sitting in on somebody's training somewhere, and they'll be up there at the front of the room and say, and here's how you do it. You pick up your phone and you keep dialing for dollars, and you keep dialing till your fingers are bleeding, and you call 50 people every day, or you go out and you meet 20 people every day, or you go online and message 200 people every day. The average person's not going to do that. And the responsibilities of leadership. It's really tough when you lead a big organization and you're worried about setting up meetings and logistics and interpreters and planning agendas. And I'm telling you, it's a big responsibility. It's a wonderful one. It's very fulfilling. It's very lucrative, because if you learn how to do that leadership capacity well in our business, you become very wealthy. But not everybody's going to do that. So don't make that a requirement to be part of the team, that they want to be a leader. Recognize you're going to have 10% leaders, 90% non-leaders, and you want them all. Number 3, manage things, lead people, or manage the organization, but lead the people in the organization. You just can't manage people. They're people. They're not robots. They're not supplies. They're not inanimate objects. And again, they're volunteers. So you've got to lead them. You can manage the details. Okay, here's where the event is going to be. Here's how we're going to set up the AV. Here's what the budget is for the event. Here's how we're going to market and promote the event to the team. Here's what we're going to do when we get everybody in the convention center. Manage all those details. Don't try to manage the people. Lead them. Number 4, build a factory. And by this, I mean a leadership factory. I tell when my friends say, well, what do you actually do? I say, well, I am building a leadership factory that is designed as a wellness company. And that you would use the similar analogy if you're designed as a cosmetic company, or designed as a utilities company, or designed as whatever your product or service line is. But there's, as a factory, what I want to be thinking of is that I've got this conveyor line, and every month I have new potential leaders coming across the conveyor line. And I open the box and I take off the styrofoam, and there they are. And now I get to work with them and teach them how to build down at least 10 levels deep, and how to become proficient in leadership skills and people skills and conflict resolution skills, and how to become better presenters, and how to become better writers, and all of the things that are involved in leading a large network marketing team. But I think of it as a factory, meaning I have to have the support structure in place, the infrastructure, the events with the training, with the blocks of leadership training, I'm demonstrating to them. We've put out what people can see what a path to become a leader looks like in the organization. That's the factory you got to build out. All right, number 5, lead by proof. Lead by proving the model works, which is another way of saying model the proper behavior. You've got to be recruiting people. You've got to be breaking ranks. You have to be a power user of the products. You have to develop a viable customer base. And my mantra has always been, this is what I'm doing, do this. Or this is what I did, do this, do that, it can't be, well, I just read this book and they said, maybe if you try this, or I was on a Zoom presentation and somebody was saying that the way you recruit with Chat GPT is doing such and such. No. You got to model the behavior. You should only be taking stuff down to your team that you have done yourself successfully. Number 6 is kind of one of the nuanced ones. Adapt the level of leadership to support who you're working with. When you're a triple diamond director and you're counseling with your personal enrollee who's a double diamond director, that conversation is operating at a higher level of consciousness and sophistication. When it's you, the triple diamond director, and you're working with your personal enrollee who joined 3 weeks ago and they just achieved the first rank, which means they have 200 points on one side of CV and 200 CV on the other, there's a whole different methodology that's got to be employed. So you have to be mindful of that. You have to work with people at the level that will best support where they are right then. And finally, the 7th vital premise, and this is the one I wish I would have known when I was 20, although it probably wouldn't have made a difference because I wouldn't have been able to do it. But premise number 7 is recruit generals and the infantry will follow. And by this, I mean, look for the leaders. Look for people with leadership potential. When you look at your candidate list, the first people you should be contacting are the most busy, most ambitious, most successful people on that list. And those are the people that are going to, first of all, they're the ones who are open-minded, they're critical thinkers, they'll give you the space and the time to actually view a presentation, whereas there's a lot of broke people that that's the reason why they're broke. They're stuck in the matrix and they think, well, if I work 40 hours a week doing my welding at the factory, then I get, I can buy a 12-pack of Bud Light on the way home and chill out with Netflix all weekend long, and then I repeat it next week and I'll live happily ever after. Okay, that's their basis of where they're at. But if you're looking for the people who are looking, if you're looking for the people who have a dream, or the people who have a vision for themselves bigger than where they are in that moment, people who would love to become the highest possible version of themselves, those are the people you go after. And understand, even though they're a very small percentage of the population, they will attract people who want to be in their orbit. And that's why I say you recruit the generals, the infantry will follow. All right, I hope you found this helpful. If you haven't yet, go to duplicationnation.com and fill out the newsletter. We've got a MLM boot camp, kind of a 3-week free training course there. And we've got the regular Duplication Nation update. So every week you'll get an alert when this podcast comes out. And there's a little training tips or nuggets in there every week as well. So, and if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, do that. And love to hear from you. Rate it, comment, share, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.